Okay, so let's talk about Osho. For millions of people, the name itself is huge. A spiritual revolutionary, a master who just shattered old ways of thinking. And his meditation techniques, they're practiced all over the world. But today, we're going to look at a very different take. We are diving headfirst into a really sharp, pointed critique from a writer who argues that Osho's entire approach to finding inner peace is fundamentally flawed. Let's get into it.
So, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll try to understand this author's kind of split view on Osho. Then we get to the real heart of the critique, which is summed up in this amazing phrase, an itch through a boot. After that, we'll look at a totally different definition of stillness, a super practical, almost brutally direct path to get there. And finally, what this source says is the ultimate goal, a state of no mind.
All right, so let's jump into that central tension. The thing is, this source doesn't just, write Osho off completely. It actually starts with a pretty surprising bit of praise before it pivots to this powerful critique. And this is where it gets really interesting. Look at this contrast. On one hand, the author gives Osho major credit, calling him a great thought enlightener, someone who could just blast open the cages of our minds, a true liberator. But then, on the other side of the coin, the author says Osho just didn't get the fundamental principles of life, and because of that, he couldn't be a true guide. And this really gets to the heart of the initial argument. The source is basically saying, look, Osho was a genius at pointing out the problem, our restless, troubled minds. He saw it clearly. But his solutions, his meditation methods, the author claims they were basically dead ends, totally fruitless, because they weren't actually grounded in how life really works. Okay, now we're getting to the core of the critique, and it's all captured in one single, incredibly powerful metaphor. I mean, just think about that image for a second. It's so vivid, right? What the author is saying is that Osho's methods, watching your thoughts, focusing on your breath, they're all indirect. They don't actually work. They might feel like you're doing something, but you're not actually touching the real source of the problem. It's just you rubbing the leather on your boot while the itch is still driving you crazy underneath. And the critique goes even deeper than that. It calls this whole approach an ostrich's psychology. The idea is that these techniques are just a form of spiritual escapism. Instead of actually facing and, solving the real-world stuff that's making our minds restless, we're just told to observe it, which is basically just burying our heads in the sand and pretending the problems don't exist. And according to the author, this whole ostrich psychology thing, it comes directly from what they see as Osho's core premise. This idea that meditation is all about transcending the mind to enter some vague, unknown dimension. And that, right there, is where this author says the entire house of cards just collapses. They argue that this very definition is just wrong and way too ambiguous. And if your starting point is flawed, well, any method you build on top of it is just going to lead to more confusion, not real clarity. Okay, so if Osho's definition is supposedly wrong, then what's the right one? Well, the author offers up a completely different way of understanding what it means to be still. The author uses this term, jingxin. And this is key. It's not an activity. It's not something you do. It's a state of being you achieve. It's a state where your mind is just free. It's not tied down by what you see or hear or think. It's this fundamental untethering from all the chaos of the world and all that chatter inside your head. And to really ground this idea, the source brings in a quote from the ancient Chinese strategist Zhuge Liang. And here's the crucial point. This kind of inner stillness isn't just some lofty spiritual goal. Nope. It's presented as the absolutely essential foundation for real, practical success, for your health, your efficiency, for harmony in the actual world. All right, this brings us to what might be the most provocative and practical part of this whole argument. The author lays out a path to stillness that doesn't start on a meditation cushion. It starts right in the middle of our messy, complicated daily lives. So here it is, the question this whole critique has been leading up to. If watching our thoughts is just scratching an itch through a boot, then how do we actually find that tranquility? What's the real way? And boom, there's the answer. It's stark. It's simple, and for a lot of us, a pretty radical idea. The source argues that you can't find inner peace by trying to escape your problems. Nope. True stillness comes after you have put your life in order. You can't meditate your way out of a leaking gas line, or an empty stomach. You have to fix those things first. And the author does not pull any punches here. They lay out this incredibly blunt checklist. It's basically asking, hey, before you sit down to meditate, can you honestly answer yes to these questions? Are your basic needs met? Food, clothes, a roof over your head? Are your duties to your family taken care of? Are your inner worries actually resolved? The message couldn't be clearer. Your mind is never going to be still if it's constantly getting yanked back to unresolved messes in your real life.
And this quote just sums it all up, and it is brutally direct. If you can't, then why the hell meditate? It's like a blind man lighting a lamp, a total waste of wax. So from this point of view, meditating when your life is a mess isn't just ineffective, it's a complete and total waste of your time and energy. You're performing a ritual, but the conditions for it to actually work just aren't there.
But hang on, because according to the author, solving all your problems and achieving that deep stillness, well, that's not even the end of the road. That's just the foundation. It's the launching pad for a final, even more profound state. So what's the ultimate goal? The author calls it Wu Xin, which we can translate as no mind. And this isn't just about having a calm or a quiet mind. It's a state that goes way beyond that. So how does that work? Well, to explain the logic, the source brings in a quote from the Taoist sage Lao Tzu. And the reasoning is actually pretty straightforward. It goes like this. The only reason we have so much trouble is because we have a mind that worries and creates anxiety. The mind itself is the source of the problem. So think about it. The ultimate solution isn't to be constantly fighting to quiet a troubled mind. That's a never-ending battle. The real goal is to transcend the mind entirely. Because if there is no mind, then what is there left to still? The whole problem just evaporates. It's gone because the thing that caused it is gone.
Okay, so how do you actually get to this state? Well, the author is very specific about it. They wrap things up with a super direct call to action. You need to read their own works and join the community that they founded. This is laid out as the concrete, practical path to actually putting all these ideas into practice. And all of this leaves us with a final, really powerful question that gets to the very heart of this entire critique. Is inner peace something you find by escaping the world, by turning inward and detaching from all your problems? Or, as this author argues, is true inner peace the ultimate reward, something you can only earn after you have rolled up your sleeves and truly faced, managed, and mastered the challenges of your real everyday life? It's a profound difference in approach, and definitely something to think about.